Hello everyone! Welcome back to Red Doe Reads. Today we have r/Am I the Butthole? If you want me to cover some specific subreddit in the next video, leave it in the comments. Am I the butthole because my boyfriend did not see me? Yesterday we went to go to see a movie. I had forgotten my phone and communicated that to my boyfriend on the drive there. He asked me if I would be okay without it, and I said yes. After the movie, I told him I had to use the restroom. When I got out, I walked outside. He usually waits out by the entrance, but he wasn't there. I waited a few minutes, but I couldn't call him, and he had the car key. I tried walking to the car, but he wasn't there. I went back in and checked near the men's restroom, but nothing. After about 10 minutes, I got really upset. I tried to keep myself in view of the theater while I walked around it, but he wasn't anywhere. Some strangers even offered to get me an Uber. Finally, I went in and checked one more time, and he was sitting on a couch looking at his phone. I told him I'd been looking for him, but I wasn't blaming about it, but he got super defensive and told me it was my fault for not seeing him and I had no reason to be upset. He kept saying, "I don't understand why you're so upset" on the car ride back. When I tried to tell him that I wanted us to be more in sync with each other, especially since we are going on a trip out of the country soon, he scoffed and said, "Do I need to tell you where I'm going to be whenever we are separate?" Which felt unfair. I didn't have my phone. Plus, what if something happens to me? How long would it take for him to notice? Am I overreacting? I feel kind of angry now and still hurt. Well, I guess when OP said, "I want to be more in sync with you," but meant, "Well, I really want you to read my thoughts and report to me your geo position every second of the day." I'm sure that the boyfriend was just sitting there, minding his own business, and maybe thinking that, oh well, it's taking her some time. Maybe she's pooping. I don't understand what OP wanted boyfriend to do. Was he supposed to run into the bathroom screaming, "OP! OP, where are you? Are you doing number 1 or number 2? Is everything going as planned? I am here for you. I really want to be in sync." Guys, we got to 246 subscribers. What a beautiful number. I would be so incredibly happy if we could get to 250 subscribers soon, because it is 250,000. Sounds great, right? So please subscribe, you will make my day, and come back tomorrow. Am I the butthole for telling my mom to shut up and accept that my wife and I aren't naming our kids the way she and dad named me and my siblings? My wife and I, both late 20s, had our first child together in June. Before he was born, there was a lot of talk about names from different family members on both sides. But the pressure to tell was on my side specifically. We didn't tell a soul what the name would be until our son was born, and we had left the hospital. My parents were disappointed when we announced our son's name. My family are very traditional in how they named us. We were each named after grandparents, and that's how they feel everyone should name their kids. My wife's family do not have a tradition when it comes to naming babies. They just name them and go. No fuss or insisting on certain names. But my wife's side tends to favor more uncommon and unusual names. My wife's and my taste tends to lean a lot more to her side than to mine, which is how we ended up choosing the name Hollis for our son. This was not something my parents liked because they expected our son to be either Jack, my dad, or Parker, my father-in-law. But I know they were expecting a little Jack to be born. So that added to their reaction. But they quizzed us on our choice to break tradition, and I told them it wasn't a tradition my wife's family used. And we decided we weren't going to have one either. Over the last couple of months, both parents have questioned why, have wanted to discuss other names for future babies. My mom has been the worst by far. She asked why we went with something so unlike the names we have in our family, I told her our family wasn't the only family involved, but that we also did not take the family taste into account. We went with what we liked. She pointed out our tastes were a lot like my in-laws, and I said yes, but that it wasn't about my in-laws and their taste, it was about my wife's and my taste. I told her I was done discussing it, and since that point, I now change the topic or end the conversation when she brings it up or refuses to let it go. We had a little naming ceremony on Saturday, and my mom decided she was going to dig in her heels about the name, and she told me we'd picked a stupid name and she hated it. She wanted us to change it and name him Jack or Parker. She told me we had no business breaking a long-held tradition in our family, and there is a reason those traditions are there, so foolish people cannot name their babies the worst names imaginable. She also said my in-laws must be so smug, thinking they'll have at least 2 stupidly named grandkids, like they had all stupidly named kids. I lost my temper. I told her to shut up and accept that we're not naming our kids like she and dad named me and my siblings, and I told her she would need to leave and learn to be more respectful, because I would not take those insults against my wife or her family lying down. My mom hated being told to shut up, and she said I had no excuse for rudeness to her face. I thought she was crazy when she was rude. Am I the butthole though? No, of course not. You can name your baby whatever you want to. And if your mom wants to name a baby Jack or Parker, well, she can talk to your dad and they can have another baby. Am I the butthole for reminding my ex I am only responsible for our children and not all of his kids? My ex-husband, 40 male, and I, 35 female, have 2 children together, 12 and 11 male. We divorced about 10 years ago now because I feel like he regressed as a husband and a father during my second pregnancy, and he was even worse when our younger son was born. He was acting like a high school or college kid or a single 20-something with no kids. He spent more time with friends than with us. His friends were also treating me more like his mom and expecting me to pick him up from their houses when they needed to get on with stuff. He fought for 50% custody of our kids, which he wasn't given, and for the first 2 or 3 years, he had every other weekend and a 2-week period during the summer with them as well as alternating holidays. He started being more involved and eventually he did get 50% custody. It was at that time I found out he got some woman pregnant, and he realized that with 3 kids he needed to get his act together. He ended up with the full custody of his 3rd kid. Then he met his wife. They have 2 more children together now. There are 2 kids in her life, but I don't believe they're her biological children anyway, who she is also partially supporting. Those 2 kids don't live with them, but apparently she or them pay for stuff for those children. My ex and I started getting along better, but then his marriage was rocky. As his marriage worsened, he started treating me like a co-parent to all his kids. He'd bring his other children to custody exchanges and expected interaction between me and his other children. Then it was requests to babysit for him and his wife, which I never did. Then it was comments about our boys' old clothes at my house being sent to his house for his other kids and how we needed to make sure they had adequate clothing. I told him there was no we in that, and he said, of course there is, we're co-parents. I said, of our 2? Sure, but not his other kids. It was requests for me to have his children in my home or to take them out to eat with me and our kids. And finally, it has turned into back-to-school craziness. I bought supplies for the boys and he told me I hadn't bought nearly enough for everyone. I was like, hold up, what's that supposed to mean? And he pointed out that what I bought wouldn't be possible to share evenly between all 5 children. I told him we don't have 5 children, we have 2. The 2 I bought those for. I told him I am responsible for our children, not his 3 others. I told him he has a wife, they share 2 of those children. The other is in their home, so it's up to them. He told me that I know they don't have a lot of money, and I cut him off and told him that still it didn't make his children my problem. He said I cannot possibly take care of just 2 of them, not when we are co-parenting and all 5 kids live together 50% of the time. He said I should be a part of the community to help raise those kids, and keeping my distance like I do is so dang cold. Am I the butthole? OP's ex-husband behaves like a kid who really wanted a puppy, but then he got fed up with the puppy and he was like, well, mommy, now you take care of the puppy. Am I the butthole for making my renter's kid feel bad about food? I, 35 female, am a mom of a 7-year-old. It's been just the 2 of us in a house with too many bedrooms for a while, so when a friend of a friend was looking for a room to rent, I agreed. Harold, 42 male, now leases a 2nd floor room. I knew Harold had a son the same age as my daughter, and I knew that Harold Jr. would occasionally be staying over. Over the past 6 or 7 months, occasionally staying over was turned into Harold having his son here more than half the time. No immediate worries there. But the kids sharing food and snacks has turned into me buying all the food and snacks. When they come in after school, etc., I do not like to tell one kid they cannot have what the other is eating, so I am fine sharing groceries like that. But over the past few months of school and summer camp and varying schedules, I keep going into the pantry to pack up my daughter's lunch or grab a snack, and groceries that used to last a month are gone in less than a week. I wouldn't mind if they were getting replaced, but I've made a couple of, hey, it looks like we are running low on insert snack or lunch item here comments to no avail, and have also asked directly by saying, can you pick up whatever food item? On the next trip out, looks like the kids burned through it. But the furthest I've gotten is Harold picking up some snacks and food that only he would eat and the kids would never touch, and saying, hey, I get something like kimchi. Grab some if you want. I finally put the non-perishable snacks and food to my daughter's lunch on her school supply shelf in her closet. And when we pack her lunch in the morning, she chooses what items she wants. Harold Jr. has made several comments about not having his favorite things for his lunches or snacks, but I've left that to his dad. Harold has said nothing to me. Harold Jr.'s mom was dropping him off the other day, and we were talking in the driveway for a bit, and she said that it really hurt Junior's feelings that I was hiding food from him. I told her that was a conversation she should have with his dad. But she was pretty cold afterward, and now Harold is a bit frosty too. I am sure she said something to him. So, am I the butthole for solving the grocery issue the way I did? The kid is not OP's responsibility. If I were OP, I would give Harold the notice and kick him out. And to be honest, I think that Harold himself was also eating the snacks, because 2 kids cannot possibly eat a month's worth of food in less than a week. But if you add an adult man into the equation, anything is possible. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. You can also watch this awesome video or that awesome playlist. See you next time!